Welcome to Luthiers Legacy Show, a podcast created especially for fine violin makers and luthiers obsessed with creating top quality instruments for their musicians. My name is Dmitry Badiarov. I'm a violin maker, former professional musician turned award-winning speaker, business coach and mentor. I'm best known for the revival of the ancient masters' acoustic concepts and the rebirth of the Violoncello da Spalla. And today I am passionate about helping open-minded instrument makers to create instrument-making businesses they will love and keep the ancient masters' acoustic concepts alive. Regardless whether you have been in the profession for decades or you're just starting out, it is time for you to shake things up. It is time to make an even bigger difference, and it is time to start creating a legacy at bench. So without further ado, let's crack on, let's get started with today's show. Hi friends, on this episode of Luthiers Legacy podcast, our guest is Sergey Malov. Sergey is the most versatile string player today, and he's a violin, he's a violist, Violoncello da Spalla player. He plays baroque music, classical music, romantic, folk, jazz, anything that is music, he just does it. And on top of this, he's a multi-track l'homme orchestre performer, one of those crazy videos where he plays 8 parts all by himself, beautiful stuff. Besides this, he's also a conductor and a professor at Zürich Academy of Music. So it's really a pleasure having you with us on Luthiers Legacy podcast, Sergey. Very warm welcome.
The pleasure is mine, Dima. Nice to see you.
Fantastic. Well, let's do it. Let's inspire some people. Sergey, look, you have these millions of views on social media and you are a very well-known person in your field. Tell me something about you that nobody knows.
Well, there are some things that maybe nobody should know. And well, that's a surprising question. Let me think. Well, I'm not really hiding my big passion about football, and basically that's how our Instagram growth some time ago began, because I started sort of to combine violin playing and football thematics, and but it's a strange thing. It's a kind of it's a challenge for me to kind of to still keep my passion, and also to be faithful for a club that represents my city, St. Petersburg, Zenit St. Petersburg, even though they are having now very unsympathetic times, having a very fat sponsor and doing whatever they want. But it's still kind of, it's very embarrassing, but what can you do? So that's the sort of troubles I experience right now. And I remember back there where we were so happy when maybe once after 20 years, my football team won the cup. And that was something very, very unbelievably like desired and wished. And now they win almost every year. And there's, of course, much less value and emotional value to it, but that's
wow, that's you really surprised me and probably lots of our audience, because look, I have known you for a number of years, since I believe, well, can you remind me? It's a long story.
Over 20 years ago.
And I didn't know anything about your passion for football, believe it or not. Well, there we go. There we go. Hey, Sergey, let's go to the core of the things. How do you master all of that? How on planet Earth is that even possible? All these instruments, all these violins, violas, all genres of music. What is your secret?
I don't know. Probably I'm just too impatient and always kind of, this sort of a syndrome of always being by the next thing. And it started with the inspiration and admiring for my grandfather, who lived in that amazing area where many cultures and countries would you could like live in one village for 20 years and still kind of live in 5 different states. So it's just now it's Ukraine, it used to be Hungary, then before that an Austro-Hungarian empire, and then also Romania and Slovakia are just around. And he was total polyglot with speaking 8 languages. Always
Wow.
inspired me. And then when I left Russia, I kind of started collecting knowledge in different languages. It's only 6 that I dare speaking on the different levels. But probably same thing happened with the instruments at some point. Until I was maybe 25, 6, I just played the violin and was totally obsessed at some point to really first get become a more or less stable instrumentalist. And then, of course, obviously it came the next challenge. Why not becoming a musician? Well, at least trying. And then, experiencing all music, I wanted to do that more actively. And then the repertoire of only one violin is indeed very limited. And also in a chamber music, I have only this one perspective. So I took a viola and saw how this works for solo repertoire, chamber music, sound, all together. And then there was this crazy encounter with you. And it's probably wouldn't be how to say an exaggeration to say that it changed my life. Well,
you're speaking about Violoncello da Spalla.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. But what is your what is your practical approach? Look, well, we can make things simple, and you can just say and admit the fact you are genius, aren't you?
It's definitely not me to decide, and not I wish I would, but I struggle and suffer with so simple things even in music that it brings me to a different conclusion.
What I mean is, like you are achieving seemingly impossible things, like you are playing on equal mastery all genres of music. I absolutely admire how folkloric, jazz, classical, baroque, on any kind of instrument is just really incredible. But practically speaking, what is your approach to mastering all of this and keeping it all in your hands? Is it like a very scientific and very pragmatic approach to practice, like you have your approach, or is it just coming very easily to you?
Yeah,
or is
I wish I'd have one. It would allow me to be really good in all of that stuff. But I don't know. No, it's just just learning by doing and looking for fun of it. And obviously I have lived already for some years, and they are already a few decades. Of course, I'm not telling I'm old, but still it's already a long time that I spent with the musical instrument. And they were just periods where I was absolutely passionate about something, and then you just throw yourself into it and do it. So I was totally privileged to kind of to always have a lot of free time. I was never kind of forced to spend a lot of my time for someone else doing something someone else is expecting from me. That's the thing. And now since 4 years teaching, it's actually cool when you explain those things, that indeed there is possible to make a structure to kind of to achieve your goals much, I don't know, quicker and planned and all that. But obviously there is a theory behind whatever jazz playing, folk playing there is, and you should be able to explain it. But obviously you need just time spent with that and a lot of passion. And there's always, of course, to how you start, you imitate, you like something, you want to become like this somebody or something, and then if you are lucky, you develop your own personality in it. that's how it starts. So just, and obviously you shouldn't be afraid to like seem amateur or make mistakes, which is probably the same.
This is a very deep, profound discussion. It just takes me on the whole journey of recalling experiences and amazing professionals that I was really privileged to meet in my professional life as an instrument maker, also as a musician, a former professional musician. So there were lots of discussions.
Like former professional musician.
Well, the truth is I no longer perform. I'm no longer on stage. So that's fair to say, former professional musician. Although I will never stop being a music professional, of course. But there were these really interesting discussions about finding your personality in music with instruments. Why is that important, you believe? Why is that important in your own words?
But isn't it inevitable? If you do something, well, if you aim for something like I do, like standing on stage and representing basically yourself, and also and different, all kind of most beautiful, outreaching music to other people.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a tool that you need. It's really difficult to plan. Well, I want to be interesting. It's so clear that you either are or not, and you should never stop. Being interested is interesting.
Yeah.
Some psychologists told me once. But yeah, of course it's a risk, and in the music business is actually it's a total failure. It's a fail concept. You should concentrate on possibly narrow thing and become known for that if you are lucky, because there are so many people, blah blah blah. I didn't never cared about it. So I thought, well, once I become more or less reliably good at something, I may spend some time with something else that is obviously connected and related to it.
Oh, that's very wise. It's really wise, because I 100% agree with you. So what you are saying, it seems that it is important to focus on one thing and become reasonably fluent or proficient with that one thing, and then add the next thing without limiting yourself to a very narrow specialization, which is a little bit of an issue in not just in music. I mean, generally, it is a little bit of an issue when we are expected to be specialized in a very, very narrow field, isn't it?
It definitely is so, and you can't blame. It's the most natural thing, and we also kind of receive other people in exactly the same way, and it's totally understandable.
So what is your daily routine as a musician? How do you function? Do you have all these instruments? Do you practice all of them every day, or is it mental practice? Is it what do you do to keep all that level?
80% of time I'm practicing now is the clavichord, and in a couple of years I want to incorporate it in my concerts. And of course now I'm of course trying to reach out the news as far as possible. It's a totally different instrument, but it's so related to, for example, Violoncello da Spalla, because it's this one of these forgotten original instruments. So forgotten, original, and also absolutely beautifully and magically sounding. Same effect is with Violoncello da Spalla. You see something like gross viola. Is it a dwarf playing on a violin? All these not anymore funny jokes, but indeed there's something magical about it, and also you not at all expect the sound it actually produces, and that makes it makes this magical feeling. And the same with the clavichord. It's a keyboard instrument that can vibrate and that produces this amazing dynamic, even though within a super small range. It's like varies from 10 to 1 piano or pianissimo as the loudest dynamic. But you can, of course, with techniques, you can produce it to any concert hall and still keep the magic of it. So
Wow.
I'm a total beginner and an amateur, but it's also kind of a tribute to my father being a pianist,
Mhm.
and something that I forgot learning well when I was a child, and just basically
So
couldn't
that
write.
is another best kept secret, is another big surprise.
Yeah. I hope
Very different from
slowly.
football.
Totally different. Yeah, it's very much connected, attached to. But till now, I was playing only like stringed, bowed instrument
Mhm.
held on the shoulder, and I have
Mhm.
no intention to ever learn like bass or upright cello, so to say. Basically, also because the most of the cello repertoire I am able to perform on the Violoncello da Spalla in a much better way, quality wise, but also it would necessarily bring this spice of unknown, of freshness. Same with the clavichord, and also it's great. It's so soft, so I don't bother anyone at home. And it's totally untouched, well, hardly touched field, and on the same time, it's totally worth discovering again. So if there is not too much better players than me, so I would get into that competition. So because they are
Yeah.
like 5 million of pianists, wouldn't bother me from enjoying playing the piano,
Yeah.
because if it's a great sound. But speaking of a professional life, surely wouldn't do that. That would be a totally silly decision, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. So, speaking about professional life and that vibrant career that you are enjoying, what would be your? I don't know why you find this funny, but it is. Look, it is a matter of fact. Yeah, and it is simply a matter of fact. It's like you are living in a realm that would be the dream situation for so many musicians that are still on the journey. So what tip would you give someone who would like to get more concert opportunities, be more connected with audiences, maybe
Yeah.
reach out to promoter or agent? I mean,
Maybe you
what's
can give me a tip how I can get more concerts and get more attention.
Yes, definitely. I can share with you and with the listeners lots of knowledge on that, because I have experience and knowledge with that as well. But what is your insight? What is important for a musician to be, for someone who is also good, to
You are.
have more fulfilling, more happy career?
I don't
Probably
know. Well, first,
very interesting.
you've got to be totally convinced that you are doing the right thing, which is
Yeah.
already super difficult to achieve. But considering that your, I don't know, way of development as a musician, as a person, with, for example, an instrument or with music at all, is something that, well, that you feel inevitable and totally necessary. And then seeing the concerts as just a kind of side effect of it, and just an output that, well, that comes, is probably a little bit romanticized, but a nice idea. I always try to see it this way, even
I
though,
agree. It's
even though it's kind of a, indeed, naive and romantic thing. Do think still that it is a nice concept that business gifted people, who have time for writing a lot of emails and connecting with the world, would do a nice cooperation and collaboration with a musician who can indeed just be free of that thing and concentrate on what he does. In my case, it works, but on a very kind of low burning thing. So I probably, well, I mean, I certainly could have 5 times more concerts. I wouldn't mind. There is a reason that I don't have as much, but at least I was never forced to do something I'm tired of, I'm fed up,
Yeah.
because it's already a brand, and then I have to do that 10 more years. Basically never happened. So I have indeed, I have a really large repertoire of, for example, like violin, viola, whatever, concerti, of which most I played just a couple of times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of repertoire, incredible repertoire. It's very profound what you have said. And it's very important to be 100% convinced that you are doing the right thing. I mean, without that, wow, it's like you are draining yourself of your sap of life. And
probably, yeah.
and when you are totally sold out on what you are doing, it's important, is the thing for your and of your life. Wow. It's
But
like then universe aligns, all the stars align in the right direction. It's
yeah. But being good and being sold out, it's just two different things. Sometimes they coincide, often they don't, and it's so great to kind of to disconnect it.
Totally agree. What I meant on being sold out is like being sold out on yourself, that you are 100% convinced that what you are doing is the right thing to do. That's what that's what I mean, rather than sold out in terms of tickets or
clarify,
something like that. Yeah, wonderful. What is the hardest part in being a musician, Sergey?
I don't know. I am totally happy with all what I have, because it's just it's of course being on tour. Well, and this is the most unsincere answer from musicians. I'm so much on tour and I don't see my family. So why, dear stars, would you not reduce your concert and be more with your family? And voila, all the musicians, including the most busy ones, indeed spent hopefully a lot of time with hopefully their happy families the past year.
Yeah,
I can't complain about that too. I have even before the crisis, I had a very nice balance of being on tour, being away, and being at home.
Beautiful.
And I have a pretty good choice actually every day to what to play. And of course, answering your previous question is it's related to the concert situation, whatever you play. And sometimes you have a short-term thing to repeat something shortly, or to learn something new, beginning hopefully in advance.
That's this approach, this attitude to life of gratitude definitely is liberating and bringing about a lot more fulfillment and happiness. And because it's true, I mean, like where do you stop? Like when is it enough of income, or when is it enough concert opportunities, or when is it enough to have all the perks career wise or personally or whatever? It's just like just what you have said. It is important to be grateful for what you already have, and there you have that sense of fulfillment and being in the right place in your life. Like, I'm super grateful for whatever I have in my life as well. And wonderful.
Well, you are partly a designer of all of that. Just accepting that it's at a certain part you can do that. But look, my father-in-law is just the happiest person in the world per se, and because he's just accepting whatever comes in such a generous, fantastic way. So I mean, whatever circumstances would come, he would somehow turn them into what you said, just kind of being happy with that. But I can't. Having people around, having this kind of people around also makes you learn a little bit from them. This sort of feeling is just about
absolutely. So now that you are also a professor, how did that affect your personality, your musicianship, and did you learn something about your profession or yourself? How does that affect?
A lot. It's just an ongoing process. In the beginning, I'm still at the starting point of of gathering some experience, and also the process with one person through a couple of years, with also new people coming in the class, being maybe even more gifted and more motivated than before. And no, it's it's a total amazing process, that a long-lasting process, even with one student that you spend a couple of years with. But yeah, well, I have this a great rhythm of just I'm going there twice a month, and well, I hope they are grown up young people, and they both learn kind of to also to work on their own. And still there is a consistent supervision. That's how I would see myself for them. But of course, I mean, you're putting in words all sorts of problems and all sorts of goals and all sorts of musical whatever circumstances, every time in a new way. Well, that brings you forward. That's so clear.
Yeah. So, what is your approach to? It's a bit technical question. Maybe I wanted to say, what is your overall big goal with your students? What is the vision, if you have that vision for your students? What you want to? Wait a second. I'm trying to formulate my question. It's probably not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is what do you want to contribute in music industry? Like from the teaching perspective, what are the things that maybe you feel could be better, different? What do you want to change?
Well, probably the best would be to give you an example. Just a very very how you call it, kind of abstract answer would be, I'd wish my students would become better and more flexible and kind of more reactive musicians, that they would not only learn their instrument, which they actually should do before they enter a conservatory, kind of an university of music, but that they would be a little bit more, I don't know, knowledgeable, understandable, and conscious about what they do. So I try to integrate it. I make them play viola too. So, well, basically, yes, being a teacher, all what I have as an extra whatever capability, I'd love to share with them. So I have to force them to play viola. We do duos in the kind of in this. That's to know. Just picking the best out of traditions of the past, like Louis Spohr being most famous actually for his pedagogical skills. His school, his book, The Violin School, is full of duos. And it's quite obvious that he was just playing all the time together with the students, inspiring, being an inspirer and an example of how you do things. But also reaching even before, fantastic pedagogical personality like Leopold Mozart, speaking all the time about actually the substance of music, at least as much as the technical execution of it. So I think that would be already enough. If a couple of people would do that. For example, the result of it would be that the orchestra auditions would absolutely want to hear, after the Mozart concerto, participants' own cadenza. So that's what we basically do all the time, and that's the thing we struggle a lot with. But isn't that a good sign for something that you actually should have learned, and still it's not late? You better go on and do it.
You are absolutely amazing at improvising those cadences. I still remember that concert you played with Tartini. Tartini Violin Concerto, was it? Tartini Violin Concerto with
Concertgebouw, many years
ago. Many years ago, yes, at this beautiful, gorgeous concert hall here in Amsterdam. And when you improvised that cadenza, well, actually, I didn't know that it was an improvisation. It was that you told me after that. I just couldn't believe my ears. This was like almost better than Tartini concerto. It was so rich, so many unexpected ideas, and it was just going on and on and on and on and on. And I was just absolutely transcended.
Well,
It was like so incredible. After, if you remember, after the performance, I asked you if this is preserved somewhere in writing or something. Is there this cadence? And so, not anymore. So that was created on the moment and gone forever. But this was so incredible. Now, how do you do this? Is there a technical skill that you need to learn about improvising, composing, or is it something that comes to you very naturally?
Yeah, well, how many people failed answering this question? Much better improvisers than I do. But obviously, I think the best way is combining the Apollinian and the Dionysian. So to say, the Apollinian represented by analysis of what you do, the knowledge of modes and all sorts of musical bricks, if you wish. And then, so you bake the bricks, and then you learn a little bit of architecture, and then build whatever you want with that bricks. So you need both. You need material, and you need structure. Maybe it's still on one side, and then you need some inspiration, something that you don't know from where it comes from.
Wow, so it's a little bit like Bach. No, Bach once said that the best improvisation is the prepared one, or something.
I thought Shostakovich also did.
Shostakovich also said that.
Yeah, and
so there is a preparation, there is the know-how, and then you kind of connect to the cloud, and this improvisation, this music comes through you to your audience. Exactly.
But then the whatever, being a good or bad or average improviser, but just doing that makes you understand the really great and luckily written down music much better. And that's basically that's a very important kind of side effect, or actually main goal of me, that just reading the music and hoping that it will be understood without actually yourself really understanding it. And playing a cadenza would actually mean that you are able to kind of communicate in this language, or in this however wide you put your borders. So this is it, and then you basically realize what for you spend all those numberless hours playing scales, and at least asking what sort of scale did I play now, and can I kind of change a mode, change a character through, for example, playing a different scale, and then realizing that indeed you can influence something by that, makes you just starts making you a musician.
Beautiful. So on your musical journey, mastering so much, it is improvisation, it is jazz, it is baroque, it is classical, all these kinds of instruments, but probably there are some key persons of influence, and someone who really impacted your life in a big way and inspired you in a big way. Who would be these few people, let's say 3 people who played the biggest role in your musical formation? Maybe not just musical.
Definitely, certainly some of my teachers, and there's at least 3. Well, Tatiana Liberova is, of course, somebody who just taught me my violin for the first 10 years in a totally unconscious way. So I wasn't really actually into it, into anything of music, but somehow probably I was just kind of not like well balanced with the hands, and could do whatever she really asked me for, and then it gave a probably enough basis for all the further development that I was able to kind of to start to commit. But then so profound musicians like Ferenc Rados, maybe the most incredible musician from Hungary, who teaches in a simultaneously the most cynical but also in the most caring way. So you have to really forget yourself and try to understand what he tells you. And obviously his level, his how to say, penetration in the musical material is so deep that actually any musician seems totally analphabet to him, and that well, in my theory, makes him so cynical to everybody. Well, that's your destiny. And he's generous to actually sometimes share his views, his, I don't know, with this sheep around. But also, yeah, well, and another, well, actually, well, I consider him as a great teacher. Andreas Schreiber is a absolutely free improviser and free person in the widest and most incredible sense of it. He's teaching in Vienna and Linz, like baroque, not baroque, jazz violin, and on the popular music department, and well, having a incredible knowledge about all the styles, he just still looks forward and is in no need of imitating any of the previous established styles, and just forming and shaping things with sounds in a most incredible way. And as a teacher also, he's able to just communicate to you that you are able to of doing the same, which is probably the most important with most of us.
Yeah. If you were to begin your career from the beginning, like from scratch, well, let's say, yeah, what advice would you give yourself 10 years ago or 15 years ago?
Play more piano.
Play more piano.
Yeah, that's an instrument for everything.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but otherwise, I think I've done everything right, because just I followed what I loved, and many of that things I really did like full time, or I don't know, 100%, or you never can measure this. But obviously, well, you just get much more overview being able to play with both of your hands independently on piano.
Yeah,
that's an instrument for everybody, because it's so simple, so easy. All the octaves look same, so you can do so many things.
Yep.
That's what I'm feeling that lack right now, actually.
Incidentally, piano was one of my favorite instruments when I was very, very young. I was still a teenager, and I was a student at St. Petersburg Conservatoire, and that school before the Conservatoire, Desetiletka. What do they call it now? The Lyceum, specialized music school. Right. Yeah, and I really loved playing the piano, and I spent hours every day playing. And I remember, Bach was my favorite composer. And I really regret that I didn't keep that skill of playing the piano. I completely forgot it. I really missed it. It's one of the things that, from the music perspective, I probably even missed the most, the ability to play piano. I was playing the first well-tempered clavier by heart.
Wow.
From cover to cover. The second one I never really mastered, but the first one was like very familiar waters for me. Yeah. So, Sergey, this is a Luthiers and Legacy podcast. So there are lots of luthiers involved, of course, and I'm very excited about some absolutely incredible guests who expressed interest and will be also on air. But I would like to ask you one question that would be very directly relevant to instrument makers, fine violin makers, luthiers. What is a fine instrument in your opinion?
Wow, I don't know. It should be probably a romantic answer. Something that, I don't know, resonates with your soul on one hand, but on the other hand, technically just allows you to do what you wish to do, but on the other hand, of course, it should challenge you to actually do something that you can't even imagine. And well, if the instrument gives you this possibility of actually doing, but it should be easy enough to play, to kind of to build more complex stuff with that. And fine instrument should look fine and sound fine, and still be a kind of a good mate on your travels, and many things.
That's many things. So from my point of view as an instrument maker and as also former musician, for me, an instrument, a fine instrument or any kind of instrument, is actually a vehicle for one's musicianship, to just help musician to get from one point to another point. So just literally, it's a journey in itself, and it is a vehicle of the journey as well.
But they are certainly, compared with, for example, car as the most common vehicle, they are definitely finer and less fine cars, but they all hopefully bring someone from somewhere to somewhere.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. Sure.
That's the point.
Yeah. Sergey, what is your life biggest lesson?
Recently, was I recently? I don't know. Biggest lesson. Well, it probably provokes me to remember like a epic failure I did that I've learned from. I don't know. Well, probably the answer, like, well, at some point, a slogan like "the worse, the better" kind of crystallized itself for me. So all the the worse, the better. All the lost opportunities, all the things where you fail, just should I don't know, should guide you, should give always a kind of a new challenge, a new whatever, a reason to become better, or just to do something else. I think because you always have a kind of, where you always succeed and always win, you very easily lose interest in life in doing that. So probably that's it. And I don't know.
Well, that's
probably it. Yeah,
that's probably it. And I mean, that's a very good answer. So it's like a failure, if that thing exists, actually, is just a stepping stone towards something else in life.
Yeah,
you can say that.
So no.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful answer. Thank you very much, Sergey. I think I would like to leave our audiences and our viewers, our listeners, with that. So,
cool. Thanks for thrilling questions, Dima.
My pleasure. Well, it was really a big honor having you with us on Luthiers Legacy podcast. Thank you very much, Sergey.
My pleasure.
So, all the best.
And to you.
Take care. So, dear friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Do let us know what did you like, and do let us know what would you like me to cover in the future episodes on Luthiers and Legacy podcast. And here is one more thing. Write a review on any one of the episodes and post it on social with the tag Dmitry Badiarov so that I can find your review. In order to win a free 15-minute consultation call, we will get on the call and discuss your instrument making business and see what you could potentially change to take your instrument making business to yet another level. All you have to do is write a review, post it on social with the tag Dmitry Badiarov in your review. And for today's episode, that is all. I wish you massive success in your career. Let's do it together. Let's change things. Let's shake things up, and let's build a legacy at Bench. See you in the next show.